Chris, how about over at Quest Software? Can you highlight an example you'd like to give where you've been able to enable an operating component in an agency to further their mission using this technology?
Sure. Several years ago, I believe six to be exact, we started working with one of DoD's entities, and they had roughly million plus users, endpoints across the globe. So they had a global infrastructure based on MS directory services and infrastructure, and they had both on-prem, they had edge, they had cloud. You have data, quite frankly, in all sorts of specialized devices, but all one thing in common, that they leveraged that Microsoft infrastructure globally. And just about the same time, if you remember, we had the Maersk attack, quite frankly, where they lost pretty much every domain controller, and they had to actually recover it from, I believe, a server in Africa that was offline at the time. That was an NotPetya attack. And then you also had other incidents that start to impact not just information technology, but as Devarius pointed out, the operational technology side that controls switches and gears that move things in the real world, the kinetic effect. And so we actually had Saudi Aramco with I think it was the Shamoon attack, I forget the exact name, but they lost a lot of big piece of their operations technology. And I think our DoD customers started looking at, well, wait a minute, we have pretty much a similar infrastructure across the globe. And these things are so many missions depend on them. How do we create sort of an IT or a resilient stance on these types of infrastructure? And so we work with them to figure out exactly, okay, how do we now replicate what you have, secure it, encrypt it to the level where it's not just secure in the data center, but regardless of where your perimeter is, as your perimeter extends, whether it's to a mobile device, whether it's to an edge device or to a forward command, that you're able to recover relatively quickly without impacting the mission to the degree. So I'm glad to say 6 years later, we've successfully helped them basically, one, put in those systems in place. So regardless of where they are in the globe or what type of command, whether it's on a forward base, a ship, a carrier, a jet, a plane, whatever it may be, they can recover, get access to information, and continue the mission without interruption. And the irony is that we look at the attacks in the commercial world and say, oh, well, that's because commercial IT, they dropped the ball. And what they point out to us is that there are porous areas of IT, no matter what agency or what company you're with. IT is very porous. And if you don't figure out exactly where those holes are, someone's going to find them to you, find them for you, and alert you in the worst possible way, for instance, how impactful those things can be. So I think they learned a valuable lesson in watching a commercial disaster unfold, for instance, and the impact of that and what it would actually mean to missions where life and limb are at stake, quite frankly. So I'm glad we were able to help in that particular scenario, but that's something we do both in the commercial world as well as to our federal customers, for instance. And I love that journey, for instance, of realization of what happens in the commercial world, how it impacts us in our federal mission, for instance, and then learning from each other, for instance, to deploy that technology across a large DoD entity.
Yeah, and the